This is my social justice book talk using Crossing Jordan by Adrienne Fogelin. It is realistic fiction, and I suggest using it with middle school students, grade 6 through 8. Here is how the book begins. Daddy held out his hand. Get another one of those nails. This fence is awful big, I said, handing him one. Good fences make good neighbors, he said, and gave the nail a whack. But we won't even be able to see the new neighbors with this fence in the way. I pulled my hair back and lifted it to cool my neck. Summer's the worst time to build anything in a hot place like Tallahassee, Florida. But Daddy was determined to finish the fence before the new people moved in. If they stay out of our business and we stay out of theirs, we'll get along fine, he said. The for sale sign on the house next door had hardly been up a week when Mama told us she had heard that a black family had bought the old Faircloth place. Daddy brought his fist down on the table and the supper plates jumped. Place is going to go downhill, he said. I chose this book because I knew the story from years ago when I taught Battle of the Books, 7th graders. These students read books often, and sometimes even in class, if we read a book like Huckleberry Finn, which we did, they always brought up this book about the racial tension, the differences in people. They compared the discrimination in both books. Crossing Jordan is current, but the students were able to understand racial discrimination is still in our society. This book is based on an actual event witnessed by the author in the late 70s when she was growing up in Florida. Cass and Jimmy become neighbors. However, Cass's father, a factory worker, had built a border fence because he had heard that the new neighbors were an African American family. Jimmy was a girl Cass's age. Her mother was a nurse, and there was a small baby and a grandmother, and her character was the voice of reason and humor in the book. So, more than racial differences, there were socioeconomic differences that made the father feel more insecure. The girls met through a hole in the fence and became good friends. The girls realized the problems they were having, but they knew that they could not bring their families together. Jimmy's mother was not happy with the fence. The generation gap between the girls and their parents becomes evident through a series of events, both humorous and tragic. So more reason to keep the friendship secret. The girls find a book titled Jane Eyre, and they bond over reading this book. Also, they're both runners, and they meet secretly at the track to run. They wanted a team when school begins, so they named their team Chocolate Milk, and they vow to beat everyone in a track meet. As differences and prejudices bring the two families together, patience, thankfulness, and understanding begin a metamorphosis in Cass's dad and Jimmy's mother. Crossing Jordan is part of a lyric and an old spiritual that means freedom. Discussion questions I would use in class using the book would be, what does separate but equal mean? Have you ever been accused of doing something that you did not do? Have you ever had a friend your parents didn't like? Most importantly, how could you help others mend fences and not build them? This novel could be used in many different subject areas. Language arts, of course, special electives for literature, social studies, and physical education, where this book, I think, would promote tolerance and cultural respect for our differences.